On this episode of Life Hacks with the Wealthy Trainer podcast/content, I will share with you how I get so laser focused that I reconnect synapses in my brain, create new synapses in my brain, and become more productive and more creative than I ever could be without this strategy. There we go. How's the little intro spinning logo? Are we good? Whoo! Welcome to the podcast/piece of content. How are you guys doing? As you know, right now we are starting this out on a YouTube live. It is 9 o'clock. I'm kind of treating this like a webinar. So if you're listening to me on the podcast, hello. I'm kind of getting the hang of this. Maybe I will take a breath and stop treating this like pre-recorded content, because I like to do these live as the initial video. Therefore, if I need to cut them up afterwards, I do, but I rarely do. I see 3, 4 people, 5 people. Oh, the viewership is climbing. We may hit a dozen tonight. I'm not quite sure, but I like the live vibe. So today, I'm going to keep this one short. It's a day of celebration because those of you who have been tuning in regularly over the past 7 days, this is kind of like episodic, right? Like episode 7 of 7. I have self-imposed a challenge on myself. That's what self-imposed would mean. To create 7 pieces of content in 7 days. Without telling anyone until yesterday. I let the cat out of the bag on yesterday's show to put my content through something we call Octo Content Model, which goes to all platforms, which turns into a podcast. In other words, I do an episode like this, exactly like this, and it gets cut up in various formats: video clips, audio clips, Alexa flash briefings. I turned her off in advance. And it goes out with calls to action and brings back leads, such as, if you'd like more information, just visit thewealthytrainer.com. That's thewealthytrainer.com. So if you're listening to me on SoundCloud, if you're listening to me on Alexa, since we're doing full podcasts on Alexa, those of you that are in my course, you're going to find out on next Thursday. We're putting full podcasts on Alexa. Super pumped up about that. That's a new discovery because synapses in my brain were unlocked because of ultra focus, which is what we're going to talk about today. If you're listening to me on Stitcher, if you're listening to me on iTunes, if you're listening to me in voice format and you do not see me, feel free to get over 300 pieces of content on my website that have helped me go from $0 to several 7 figures per year working from home in my pajamas at thewealthytrainer.com. I did that on purpose, but you guys should check it out. I did that on purpose because this is what I put out there. So whether it's a voice, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on, what am I missing? YouTube? I do YouTube Live. This is what we do in our Octo Content Model journey. I said that because I forced myself to doing that with 7 pieces of content over a 7-day period. This is day number 7. I've succeeded. It's a big, big deal considering what my schedule is like. Whoo! Big squirrel. We had a big squirrel tonight. Okay. Where do I begin? Today's topic is, I kind of mumbled it up because I'm getting the whole intro figured out with the spinning logo for the viewers at the beginning, but we're talking about how I get such laser focus. So that my focus is so laser focused that there literally are new synapse connections in my brain. That's the electrical current. That's your, those are like the veins in your brain. Those are that light up when connections are made, when they're really strong and the current is very strong between the synapses or between in the brain. When the synapses are strong, synapses is the current. So when that's really strong, your brain works extremely well, obviously. And when you're in that level of deep and it's not deep focus, focused attention on the task that you're doing, where it's almost trance-like a trance, where you're like in there and you can't hear anything around you, new synapses get created. So if you have a piece of information like in one part of your brain and another piece of information in another part of your brain, and they're useless on their own, but once they're connected together, they help each other, and you come out with some gold nuggets and some gems, to be quite frank. So that's only accomplished at a very, very high level of laser focus. Now I'm going to take a sip of my Rockstar, and I will get started with a little a metaphor, an analogy, okay? Okay, I have a question for you guys on YouTube Live. Even if you're watching the replay, pop it in there. If you're listening to me on voice, just say it out loud, mumble it to yourself. Let me take a sip, do a little cheers, because this is probably one of the most important pieces of content I'm going to share with you. I know I say that all the time, but this is a big one. This is not only how I do the work of 6 men, I work alone. This is not only how I do the work of 6 men or women, this is how I create things that don't exist. This is how I create systems and methods and strategies that are not out there. By using what's out there, but connecting it and adding my what I already know. New synapses are being connected, so this is how I do it. Let's start like this. Have you ever, anyone, taken a magnifying glass as a child and burnt an ant with it? Be honest with me here. You can be honest with me. You can be honest with me in the chat. It's pretty mean. I shouldn't be saying this. You never know whose hands this will get into. So I'm going to use the hypothetical road. I've heard of that. If you take them, I like the ant analogy because I think I saw someone do it. Who didn't? Now I'm treading lightly. You don't want to be burning insects. They're live beings, but maybe I saw it in a movie. There we go. Hypothetically, if you were to put the magnifying glass on the ant and it's a sunny day outside, nothing really happens at first. Actually, I got tricked into it. I really did, by my father. Rest in peace, Dad. I was thinking about him the other day. Really weird. I got his picture right up there. I should turn the camera for the YouTubers. The older I get, the more I find I look like my father. Father passed away, if you don't know. Most of you know through my story. It's on my blog at thewealthytrainer.com. I'll be sprinkling calls to action throughout because I know we're a voice now. We're on podcasts. I got thrown off there thinking of Dad. He played a mean trick on me when I was young, actually. I guess I may have been 7? I was very young, maybe 6. I was very young on Byron, where I grew up, the house where I grew up, and it was on the front cement. Oh, I can't believe I'm saying this. The cat's out of the bag. Yes, I used to burn ants with a magnifying glass. Bad boy, bad little boy, bad little boy. But I got tricked into it the first time. It was he tricked me on purpose. He laughed about it. He actually laughed about it. He just said, just really pay attention to I was into insects. I thought they were cool. I think every kid is into insects. And this has to do with the lesson, by the way, about laser focus. And you guys can probably guess the rest of what happened. He was asking me to check the details. He's like, no, plus à la gauche, plus à la droite, plus haut, un peu plus haut. That's French for a little to the right, a little to the left, a little higher. He's positioning the magnifying glass for me so that the sun lasers that ant and zaps it and burns it. I was a little traumatized at first, but then he was laughing, and when your dad laughs when you're young, you laugh too. Yeah. He encouraged me into enjoying it. It's funny, when you're trying to, it's like your dad's proud. Any child that hangs out with their dad and their dad laughs, you're having a good time with your dad, it's a good moment. We get emotional thinking of dad. I'm almost 50. I do have those moments though. They pop out. Hopefully I don't have one tonight there, but they pop out. He tricked me into it, and then I kind of did it again, and then I understood the power of keeping the magnifying glass there for very long, because if you move it, you got to start the process over. And this is what I'm going to use as the analogy to laser focus, because if we would keep going, me and my brother, I'm bringing my brother into this now, if you would burn the ant and the ant was gone and you just kept it there and kept it there and kept it there and kept it there, it would actually get so strong that it would burn the cement. It would leave black marks. It was like a gray cement. And if you, after we did it as long as we could, you could see smoke coming from the freaking cement. And if you were to put it and take it off and put it, take it off, put it, take it off, put it, take it off, you wouldn't get that. It's the amount of time that's ultra focused. Now, I'm going to use some times here. So if you were to leave it on the ant for 10 seconds, take it off. Put it back for 10 seconds, take it off for 10 seconds. Put it back for 10 seconds, take it off. You'd eventually get some kind of you'd probably cripple the ant. But if you did that for 110 cycles, so 10 seconds, stop, 10 seconds, stop, 10 seconds, stop. Well, as you probably know, some of you I'm sure know from experience, you need less than half that time of ultra focus to get the desired result. This is a little sadistic. Sadistic? This is a little sadistic, but the same applies to sleep. If you're rolling around, you sleep 5 minutes here, you wake up, you sleep half an hour there, you wake up. You could do that for 8 hours, up and down, up and down, up and down. But if you sleep for like a good 6 hours straight, sure, it's 2 hours less, or 5 hours straight, or even a 4-hour REM cycle, you'll get a better sleep in 4 or 5 hours than you would 9 or 10 hours of up and down. Same idea. I should have probably used that. Let's talk about focus. I don't know if I look well rested because I worked even harder, but I had the day off today. And when I say I had the day off, I'm going to take a cheers. Cheers to a day off. I'll explain to you what a day off for me means. I had a day off in terms of I could work on my blog. I could work on my blog and I could learn. And I could just work on my blog. I have, I'd say about 300 to 400 pieces of content to recreate. I'm going to talk to you about the focus today because this is the story that I'm using this strategy for. To focus, the longer I have to focus, the more I can solve the problem and get work done in a shorter period of time, and the more I can discover new strategies and discoveries to better the process moving forward. But I need that level of focus for a long period of time. Example, on any given day lately in the past 3 months, I'm doing course creation, I'm teaching on webinars twice per week, I'm doing coaching calls all day long, and then in between, I work on my blog. That's my current task. That's the current beast I'm trying to tame. I'm on a new platform called Wix. I come from WordPress. I'm learning the bells and whistles, and I know what I have to do, but it's long, and it's a lot of work. I'm bringing in like I said, 300-400 pieces of content in a certain way, and I'm like, oh, this is going to take forever, but it's worth it. It's what I need to do. It's part of what I need to do. So I do it in little bits and pieces when I have time. And I'm getting there. I'm chugging along. But the focus never gets to that laser level. Because as I get into the task at hand, that magnifying glass never catches. It never burns the ant. I'm still, and I almost feel not unlike the magnifying glass. I almost feel like I'm starting over. Even if it's 2 minutes of my time. Think about this. And I don't know if you guys agree. There are people on YouTube Live now. We may be getting a little traction. I'm not sure. Do you guys ever feel that? Like you start getting into something, and then when you get out of it, you feel like you have to get into it again. It's not about the amount of time you spend in between. It's the breaking of that time. It's the breaking in between. So if I have a day off, and in the middle of the day, now I'm pretty hardcore, so a full day of laser focus for me would be like a full day. If I got 12 hours on only the task at hand, I do not play around. I turn off social media. I turn off my telephone. I do. I'm like, I have a day off? Are you kidding me? I'm going into that laser focus land. Let's see what happens. It's like going into a different realm. It's almost like, okay, let's see what the brain's going to do now. It's going to do some crazy shit. It's going to create something great because I'm burning through the cement. The ant is gone by the morning. After lunch, I'm into it. So if someone were, I know a full day seems excessive. So let's say 2 hours. Let's say 2 hours. Or let's say 4 hours. You need 4 hours to really get into something and really do something really, really well, I would say. It takes me half an hour to really get into what I'm doing, because there's thoughts you're kind of like still thinking about. You have to drop those thoughts and get into the zone, as I like to call it. Once I'm in that zone, if I break out of that zone, I got to get back in that zone. That's the focus. So I'll tell you how it's applying to me currently, but it always applies to me. And from your standpoint, if you were to do calls, courses, are you guys coaches? If you're coaching people, if you're doing calls all day long, the best way to get that laser focus and get into that zone is to book all of your calls, all of that stuff on the same day, and have as much free time as you can consecutively to see if you could get into that magical zone where your brain creates those synapses. And yes, a 2-minute chat will ruin it. It's got nothing to do with the time. If someone contacts you and say, I just need 2 minutes of your time, and you get on, and 2 minutes is never 2 minutes, by the way, but if it was, you have to switch your focus. You have to change hats. When you change hats, you got to remember back where you were. You have to get back. And even if you know exactly where you left off, you have to get back into that zone. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how you can do the work of 6 men or women. This is how you can get that magical laser focus where you come up with solutions that you wouldn't have come up with otherwise. And this is why when I have a day, if I have a coaching call on Friday and I have like 4 on Saturday, well, guess what? I would like to move that one to Saturday. Now let's talk about family life. Let's talk about your spouse. Let's talk about your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever. If you block out a time slot you will get so much more done. It will take a while to get into the zone. Now, when I say time slot, I'm talking no social media. That's not gonna help any. I'm talking your phone has to be off. I don't know if you want to go into that zone, but when you go into that zone, you're not the same person. You're not the same person. You will come up with things that you didn't think you could come up with. You cannot go on social media. That defeats the purpose. You can't have the bell go off. It's got to be off. It's hard to do. It's super hard to do. But I just tackled something today. I had the whole day off. Would you guys like to know what I figured out? I don't know if this is out of the scope of this podcast. I'll share with you what I figured out. Is it going to save me time? Oh my God, yeah. And I bettered a process because I was in the zone. I was in the Lalonde zone. I was in the zone, and I'm like, oh, this is crazy what I have to do. How can I didn't even say, how can I make this better? It just popped into my head. I'm like, I could do that. And now I'm running. Now I'm out of the zone because I'm here with you today. My day's over. I'm done. I'm gonna fiddle around after this. I'm gonna make this content across all platforms, do my thing I talked about earlier. Wow, these are I just talk. I'm telling you what's going on. So for your situation, if you were to take a Saturday and you said, I'm just using that because, Saturday is just traditionally a day off, and you say, I'm going to work on and off throughout the whole day. I got all day. I got from 8 to 4. I'm going to have lunch with my wife or girlfriend or significant other. I'm going to do social media throughout, say good morning, and work while I chat. I'm going to just work throughout the day as I go. I got 8 hours to do this. I'm bound to get a lot of stuff done. I'll keep it light. If you do that for 8 hours, I promise you, in 2 hours of ultra focus, you'll get more done than in 8 hours of moving that magnifying glass. I promise you that. Today, I literally moved a mountain. Not literally, but it was figuratively by being in ultra focus. And I know when I'm in that zone too. I'm like, okay, I'm there. It takes time to get in that zone. It's like when you first start working out, it doesn't feel comfortable on the treadmill. But I don't think it ever feels comfortable on the treadmill. Actually, let me retract that statement. But it never feels good to do something that's difficult. Working out's a good one because it becomes acceptable. It never feels good for me. Some people say they enjoy it. Yeah, it's bearable because I know how I feel after. But yeah, it becomes easier, a lot easier. And it's the same thing with getting into that zone. So I would recommend taking that time and going on lockdown, taking less time on complete lockdown and practicing that process. That's the secret. And I'm going to tell you, I can tell you what I accomplished, but I just shared with you what to do. Instead of, it took me almost 25 minutes to share with you what I do. I have self-isolation. Aside from the coronavirus, I've been self-isolating for a long time. I sound like a broken record. But yeah, those of you who are new listeners, I have that luxury of, I've set up my life in a certain way where I don't have to deal with a girlfriend. I don't have to deal with kids. That was wrongly said. I sacrificed things in my life in order to get complete isolation. That sounds like cold, maybe. Does it sound not human? Maybe. Does it sound weird? Maybe. I don't know. I made that decision a few years ago. And it is by choice. I love women. Believe me. I love kids. I made a conscious decision not to have children. And then I made a conscious decision pretty recently not to have a wife. It's a conscious decision. We can get wives if we want wives. We focus on that. We meet people. We do it. It's a little off topic, but I'm self-isolated, but I'm also very committed with a lot of distractions as well. I must also get laser focused by going on lockdown for certain periods of time, because I never reach that complete state. Today I reached this state. And, well, I'll tell you what I figured out. It won't mean anything to any of you because I don't think you can relate, because I'm using a new platform to build out my blog, and I'm converting a bunch of pieces of content into a certain format so they show up properly the way I want them to. I guess I could sum it up this way. And the only way I could picture doing it was doing it through the one by one, because there's certain sessions that time out with the platform there is. You couldn't do like multiple tabs, and usually what I do is I open multiple tabs. I'll create a blog post in like 10 windows, put up the blog post. I couldn't do that. So I figured, well, I just got to grind it through. It'll take me, whatever, a couple of hundred hours, and just grind it through with time. And today, about 6 hours in, it was getting very efficient. I was getting efficient. I was using a notepad. I had my YouTubes in different tabs. That's what I mean. This may not mean a lot to you, like the actual thing I figured out. But I'm just doing my thing. And then all of a sudden, I says to myself, let's start trying things. Why are we chugging along, clogging along? Maybe I could write a little script. Let's start failing at a lot of things. What's the worst that can happen? I lost an hour to possibly save 10. So I started throwing shit on the wall and see what would stick. Started trying different things. And it just so happens that I can actually, let me tell you what I did. It won't matter to anybody, but because you're probably not doing what I'm doing. But I got to open a different browser window, not with the actual edit window, but with the window before the edit window. It's a simple solution once you know you can do it, but I could do that. Open the pre-window, and once there's a bunch of pre-windows, then I could open it up in the different browsers and have like 10 of them and do a copy, paste, and save. So in other words, I would have never thought of doing that. It's not something that's just instinctual. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm a programmer, I should have known that. No, it's just like, it was because I was in that zone. And now that I got that skill, taking it to the bank, that's going to save my life. That's like I literally just hired 2 people. It's like I just hired 2 people. Why? Because I had complete and, wait for it, utter focus. That's my new favorite word. I had complete and utter focus on what I was doing. I got into the zone, and I cannot believe we're half an hour in. I'm happy. That's how you do it, guys. Blocks of time. Seems like a very simple thing, but I needed to log some listen time with you guys, and I also like to share my story and my excitement. And that's something that if you just do it and you come with an agreement with your significant other to lock that door, you will be fascinated by how it feels in that zone. You will figure things out on your own in that zone. Okay, guys? Thanks for listening. I mean, I'm going to do what I got to do with this video podcast, and I guess I could leave you, what can I leave you with? What note can I leave you with? Or what quote can I leave you with? I can say this. I think of the ant and the magnifying glass. I do. Try it. Instead of just working on and off, it's really hard. Try to shut off the social media. Try to come to an agreement with your spouse. And I think the most important thing I'll leave you with is when you have that time, laser focus on the one thing and have social media and your phone off, because you'd be better off if you didn't do it, if you didn't book that time with yourself. You're letting yourself down if you do that, and you're going to think it doesn't work. And then your spouse will be like, well, I gave you all the focus time you needed. And you'll be like, yeah, but I was like, Facebook kept dinging and I had to, emails were coming in. I had to check my emails. That damn IV drip, right? That adrenaline drip. It's drip, believe me, where you're just like, your phone's off and you're like, I just want to check really quick. That'll take work to ignore that. But once you get into the zone, you'll be glad you got into the zone. Have an amazing day. Or evening, what are we, 9:30 right now. If you're watching on YouTube Live, if you're listening on the podcast, I just wrapped up 7 days of syndicatable content, a challenge that I imposed on myself for those of you who have been following this little 7-day journey. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing evening or day or morning, depending on where you are in the world. Marc Lalonde signing off. I love you all. Bye-bye now. Thank you for watching or listening. I hope this content has helped you in any way, maybe motivated, inspired you. Maybe it's triggered an idea. Maybe it's gotten you out of a rut. Maybe it's simply entertained you. Listen, I'm just an ex-computer consultant guy who lost his way to drugs and alcohol and eventually became homeless. From rock bottom, I cleaned up, I clawed my way back into the workforce. I shifted into running my own business. I've been retired from the corporate world for 7 years now, and I've never looked back. If you want to follow me on my journey or maybe even connect further, you can either go to my blog at thewealthytrainer.com. That's thewealthytrainer.com, or you can click the link in the description if you're watching this video. Marc Lalonde signing off, and I'll see you on the inside. Bye-bye now.